Major Garrett and Nancy Cordes join us now from the Spin Room at the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas, again, site of tonight's debate. So you know it's a big one. Major, you watched Donald Trump hold those rallies yesterday, albeit in very friendly terrain in Colorado. What, from what you saw yesterday, then, from the candidate, suggests what we might see tonight?
Two quick points. One, Trump has got to get back on some conversation portraying him as an agent of change. He and his advisors know that is the only remaining, or maybe the most powerful remaining, argument Trump can make in this campaign, that Hillary Clinton and her long experience in Washington is precisely that. Long experience in Washington. Not necessarily an asset in this change dynamic, but Trump, for a lot of different reasons, has been thrown off the change message for the better part of 2.5 to 3 weeks. He's got to get back on it. That's why you saw him introduce this week lobbying reform proposals, call yesterday for term limits, an idea he hasn't talked about with any gusto for months and months and months. So Trump is trying to get back on that terrain because he does believe if there is a contrast that he can make, a quick and simple and memorable one and potentially advantageous one, it's that he's a change agent and Hillary Clinton is the personification of the Washington status quo.
Meanwhile, Nancy, we did not see the Democratic candidate on the trail largely this week. Certainly there will be much to discuss from this week. Talk of rigged elections, obviously the latest allegations of assault against Trump, as well as the WikiLeaks revelations that continue to come here by the day, which, in a grand view, perhaps, do show a politician being archly political. What then do you expect from that politician tonight?
I expect that if and when WikiLeaks does come up, that politician will quickly steer the conversation, Josh, to Russia and to say, look, let's not forget the larger picture here, which is that Russian hackers are most likely behind this intrusion. This is stolen information that's now being put out there for public consumption, and the Russians are trying to meddle in this election, and that Donald Trump is trying to egg them on. So she'll try to turn it against Trump as quickly as possible. Her campaign actually says, despite how embarrassing these emails have been and will continue to be, because we'll still see thousands more between now and Election Day, she's happy to talk about them to make this larger Russian point. It doesn't hurt that last night the Ecuadorian government itself confirmed that they have essentially shut off Julian Assange's internet, like he's a teenager who stayed up too late at night online and is now being punished by his parents. Because he lives in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. He has been in asylum living there since 2012. And they say that because WikiLeaks was trying to influence the U.S. election, they're cutting him off. That doesn't mean that WikiLeaks itself, which is comprised of more than just one person, won't continue to put these emails out there. But it does certainly give Hillary Clinton a little more material to work with tonight to say, look, even outside governments are saying that this is WikiLeaks and also potentially the Russian government trying to meddle in the election and trying to put me in particular on the defensive.
Major, we saw the president as well hammer Donald Trump yesterday with regard to his purported coziness with Russia. How would you then expect him to respond if this is the real thrust of Hillary Clinton's argument tonight?
Well, it's going to be a bit complicated for Trump because on the one hand, he says these emails confirm what all of us suspected about Hillary Clinton, that she's duplicitous, that she's a typical politician, that she's corrupt. Fine. But if your supporters already believe that, does that in fact enlarge your base of support in any particular way? Does it drive you to a different electoral outcome than you already were when people assumed the worst about Hillary Clinton in the first place? And I guarantee you, having been to more than 70 Trump rallies, they have from the very beginning thought the worst about Hillary Clinton. I'm not sure that message and pounding on that message necessarily drives Trump's support up or creates any new support for him. And if Hillary Clinton is aggressive and pointed on this argument that, Donald Trump, are you really comfortable allowing any foreign agency, in this case, a not-so-friendly government, involve itself so visibly, or at least apparently so visibly, in a presidential election? And if so, will you explain to the American public why? Trump better have an answer, because if he says, well, the emails are revealing, okay, but they're still stolen, and somebody who has hostile intent for the future of this country is in all likelihood behind it. Why are you comfortable with that? And talking to Trump advisors, they don't have a great answer for that. They just want to fall back on everything it says about Clinton. This could be a moment where Trump better be more prepared than he currently is on the stump.
I do think, Josh, that the moderator is probably going to try to pin Clinton down on some of the actual comments in these emails, where even her own advisors are saying things like she doesn't have great instincts and that a lot of these wounds involving her email scandal are self-inflicted because she can't apologize. And he's probably going to ask her, you know, if these are the people closest to you who have concerns about your judgment, how can you assure the American people that you are always going to have great judgment when you're acting on their behalf? So I think, you know, part of the reason that she's been out of the public eye all this time is that her campaign is working on how she will address that question if it comes up.
And quickly, Nancy, I mentioned the president's comments yesterday. He said very plainly to Donald Trump, stop whining about stop whining before the game is over. Essentially, it would seem that with comments regarding a rigged election, what it presupposes is a Hillary Clinton win. What do you expect her to do with not just what Donald Trump has suggested may occur on Election Day, but really what it might say about the legitimacy of the American electoral process?
Well, she will argue, as her campaign aides did yesterday, that talk of a rigged election is what losers do, in the words of her communications director, Jen Palmieri. That's what someone does when they're looking to shift the blame for their bad poll numbers elsewhere. And Palmieri argued, when you're trying to deflect attention from women who have come out and accused you of either unwanted sexual advances or sexual assault. And so the case that Clinton will make tonight, I predict, is that, you know, whenever there's bad news, Donald Trump is looking to blame someone else. Even Melania, in interviews over the past couple of days, has said that it wasn't her husband's fault for saying what he said on that bus in 2005, that he was egged on by Billy Bush. And so Clinton will argue you can't have it both ways. You can't be this strong, powerful leader who's going to fix everything and change everything, and then yet at the same time play the victim.
Major Garrett and Nancy Cordes, we do appreciate the time, albeit in a city that does not believe in clocks.
Thanks.